It's up. To a you know, add a like we're trying to find. So it's been a struggle. I hope and pray that that the Washington actually fixes the project. I mean the whole H-2B visa situation. It aids, it helps America, guys. I mean, it truly does. Everybody says, oh, well, they're taking American jobs. No, these are jobs that Americans don't want to do no more. Just plain and simple. Plain and simple. It's been estimated for every guest worker, he helps support or sustains 4.6 American jobs. People ask, how? Well, okay, I have to buy trucks to get these guys to work. Okay, so I'm buying new trucks. I canceled at the beginning of 2018 $250,000 worth of equipment from a local Bobcat dealership, because when I found out that I wasn't going to get my men to run this equipment, I had to cancel it. The owner of it, or he owns in 4 states now. He's a pretty big Bobcat dealership owner. He called me up. He said, Ron, what's going on? And I said, I didn't get my men. I got to cancel this. And I wasn't the only one that canceled equipment. There was, they had about a 12% reduction that year in their sales because of this. Those Bobcats are made up in Fargo. They're 100% American made. How is that helping them up there? Right. So, I think America has to rethink its whole view on this program. And if anything, I think they need to increase the numbers, because I think it would help the economy even more. I just know from my own experience how I had to reduce my purchases and all of the supplies, equipment, every other thing.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. Dr. Bronars, let's talk some policy changes here. We have Hill staff in the room. Ron discussed increasing that 66,000 cap. What are some other policy solutions that you would like to put forth that would fix the H-2B program moving forward?
Well, I would definitely raise the cap by a lot. I have to say that when the economy is not doing so well, sometimes the cap is not hit because more people are willing to take these jobs that are not the most attractive jobs, and people are not spending as much on travel to resorts, and they're not hiring as many people to take care of their lawns. So it's not as if every year over the past 20 years we've hit the cap. But right now, not talking about H2B, just talking about the economy overall, there are more job openings than there are people looking for work. So it is hard for every company to go out and find the people that have the skill set and are going to do the job. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is that unless this becomes like the H-2A program where there is absolutely no limit, I don't see the point of this prevailing wage nonsense. These numbers are made up. With all due respect to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they have no idea that it's the average wage rate for landscaping workers is $14.12. That's not how the OES survey works. There are 12 different pay categories. It's a very opaque system. They come up with these numbers, and frankly, it's hard to understand where these numbers come from. So unless we are in a situation where we have large numbers of guest workers coming in that could potentially affect the wages of U.S. workers, the other thing I say is if we have such strict numerical limits, there is no point to having a prevailing wage. Pay the local minimum wage or the federal minimum wage or whatever, but there's no reason why you have to try to estimate what is the average. The prevailing wage right now is the average wage in that area. You can't possibly depress wages by bringing in people and paying them the average wage, because the average wage, given the skewness of the wage distribution, is above the median, so it's more than what most people make. So it's ridiculous to bring in guest workers and pay them more than a majority of people in that area are getting paid. So that would be the next thing to get rid of, and you have to streamline this process. So, I mean, a lot of that would be taken care of if you didn't have these caps. I think there's less participation in this program because nobody knows if they're going to get the workers or not. We run out so quickly. You just strategically got to get those requests in because it's 33,000 in the first half of the year gone, and then there's another 33,000. So those are the main things. It's kind of ridiculous. Let the employers attest to the fact that they can't find U.S. workers. I don't think you explained why you put the ad in, because you have to. That's what the federal government requires you to take 4 weeks of ads. And like, when you tell people this, young people, I see a lot of young people here, they go like, what? They're like ads in newspapers for jobs? Really? Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's just ridiculous. So I would trust the employers and say, hey, if we can't find local workers to do this, plus you have to place an ad so early, of course no one's going to respond to these ads because you have to plan ahead. Like, hey, eventually I want to hire people to mow lawns. Mm-hmm. It's the whole thing is silliness. Mm-hmm. Only if this program was large enough that I thought it was really moving the needle when it comes to job opportunities for people who are already here, many of whom are foreign born, so that's just a fact of the matter for these kinds of jobs. But I mean, some are here legally, some here maybe not legally, some are citizens, some are not. But the point is, until we have a flow of workers coming in that is many times higher than the 66,000, there's a lot of the red tape here and the prevailing wage that there's already enough protections by limiting the flow to be a small number. So that would be, if I were in charge, what I would do. It's never going to happen, but maybe we could try for that. moving in that direction.
Okay, last question. I'll turn it over to the audience for 15 minutes of Q&A. But Danielle, we have Hill staff in the room. What is one takeaway you would like them to take back to their office, talk to their boss about when it comes to the H2P program?
One.
Or two, or three quick ones.
I do know that the additional $30,000 that they released this year was limited to returning workers only. I can tell you that my 12 workers and many of the competitors in my county who have had returning workers, those workers come here each year. They arrive when they're supposed to. They leave when they're supposed to. They go home to their families. They have lots of kids. They enjoy their time at home. And they return when they're supposed to. So I would say I would love to see a returning worker exemption. I think that that's fair for employees who have proven that they come, they do the work, they leave, they live here lawfully during that 9 or 10 months. I would like to see the cap elevated. I think that it's necessary, especially with our economy. And given my recruitment efforts this year, I can tell you that Americans don't want these jobs. They're undesirable. I raised my 2 boys, actually. One was in law enforcement, one went into business management. They both came back to work for us. They're going to work for us full time. But I even encourage them to step away from this. So as parents, we're raising our children to take jobs like you young people, to go to college, to work in air conditioning, not to go out there and sweat. Like today, my son, who's 21, is probably dying about now, and he'll tell me about it. You know, it's hard to breathe, and it's just undesirable conditions. Nobody wants to work in that. So I would say lift the cap. And I do like some of your suggestions about not making it so difficult for us to obtain these workers. But I really don't even care about the bureaucracy of it. I just want to see a fair, level playing field for everybody. I think that when we as business owners say, look, we can't hire anyone, this program is necessary because it's temporary. Nobody wants a 10-month job. No, you know, even with benefits, those benefits are only for 10 months. So those would be my 2 things, though. Lift the cap and give us a returning worker exemption.
Okay, time for some quick audience questions. Yes, sir.
So as you both know all too well, this past, I think it was January, the system for applying for H-2B visas was a mess, to say the least. What has been your experience with the new flag system over the July 4th holiday?
I'll let you.
All right, so I didn't personally experience that, but I do have competitors who I know. Are you talking about the RFEs that they received where they, so occasionally when you submit an application, you're required to submit more information to substantiate your need for the worker. In this case, a lot of people who were already capped out and who had already been denied their workers, it was far beyond their start dates. They were again asked for more information to substantiate their workers. This caused an even further delay. I know that one of our Twitter friends, Chad Wharton, he just received his workers a few days ago. I think it was yesterday actually, which is insane. To give you an example, my work season started in February. My workers didn't get here until June 8th. We did have an RFE in a previous year, and I believe that's why we missed the cap.
Did you ask about the flag system?
Yes.
You know, the flag, I mean, that just went into effect, so they applied in January for April dating. They would.
That's not under that same.
Oh.
That just got instituted, so that would only be for employers with fall data need right now. So that doesn't, they wouldn't have to use that experience.
And just to let you know, in 2017,
Yeah.
the reason we received ours in September is because we had an RFP. I mean, it was
Yeah.
pages of silly questions.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
2018, we tried. We missed the first cap. Then we had to go back, and we had to do the recruitment all over again. We had to run the ads. We had to do the same exact thing that we did the first time, which just totally baffled me. I'm like, well, we already proved need once. You know, now you're making me do it again. And then we still came up empty-handed. So which was amazing. We probably, you know, trying to get our men up here, recruiting local help, in 2018, I probably spent, I don't know, at least $50,000, at least. And I'm like, man, to come away empty-handed.
Yeah.
Not too many businesses can survive such a situation like that. So something has to happen to where we streamline this. I don't really mind about the prevailing wage. Okay, I understand your thoughts. Okay, it's an open.
It's made up.
This is supposed to be capitalism. Okay, we are supposed to, everybody, let the market determine prices, wages, the whole 9 yards. But obviously, I don't think we'll ever get to that. It's not going to happen. I don't mind the wage aspect of it, because it puts everybody on a level playing field. It really does.
I'm just saying that it is asking too much of the BLS for, in that survey, 800 different occupations, 500 different labor market areas come up with, now, there are some of these jobs that don't occur in some of these areas because some of them are non-metropolitan areas, but it's a couple 100,000 average wages every year that they have to come up with. The survey has 200,000 establishments in it. It's a rolling 3-year average of this thing. When businesses respond to it, they don't say they pay somebody $14, $12 an hour. They say they pay between 9 and 11 or 11 and 14. So there's not a lot of transparency in how these average wages are coming up. So if we're going to fix the system, that'd be one thing I would definitely think we need to address. And I think the other thing is, another thing I would say that we need to focus on is not the way in which the law is written and the way in which the policies are done is to protect these hypothetical U.S. workers that are taking these jobs, and not what are the benefits of people coming in these positions to the people that are sitting next to me here and their full-time employees. That is not what the way the law is written right now. Nobody is supposed to care about that. But to me as an economist, that seems like an important consideration.
It is.
To add into the whole thing. So yeah, you're trying to protect people that would take these landscaping jobs and work them seasonal and make sure that their wages aren't being depressed. But there are other effects of the program on other people that aren't doing exactly the same job and aren't doing it in a seasonal way. So that should factor into valuing this program and reforming the program.
Well, a question. So let's say that tomorrow, by a miracle, Congress uncaps the H-2B program. My boss will be back in Wisconsin in August, in like 2 weeks. And I was just recently talking with a union person about guest workers. How does he answer, because Wisconsin's a heavily organized labor state, how does he answer all the unions and all the people that are going to be coming up and protecting him and saying, so you just voted to flood the American economy with cheap, unskilled foreign labor, which, quote from one of the unions, has proven a negative impact on local economies and creates unnecessary safety risks in our communities. How does my boss answer that? That's a force.
Well,
Wrong.
You go, because, oh boy,
Sorry.
that'd be great.
I mean, what St. Louis did in local, they created seasonal landscape worker part of the union. Now, there's not a lot of movement to our men. They have the membership and they pay 2% in, they get no kind of benefits. But they have the ability to work these higher paying jobs because of that. So, they can make $46.55 an hour for labor. Now, it's not daily they're making that. But, so, it's a benefit to them and it's going to be a benefit to their community. So that's one idea.
Well, what I would say is this. What I would say is, I would tell your boss, tell the unions this. Organize them. Plain and simple.
I can speak on that because I am union.
Yeah.
I do union work, state, city, federal, and I have to sign PLAs on jobs, and I have to recruit recruit guys out of the hall, and for every one of my guys, I gotta bring in a union guy. Every time I bring in a union guy out of the hall, okay, he never makes it, because he doesn't wanna do that work. And
Thank you.
And everybody here, the prevailing wage, I understand what you're saying, but we can pay $20, $30 an hour. The dollar doesn't matter,
No.
and we don't care, okay? Because in all honesty, it's costing us $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 just to get workers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the little rate that we're talking about per
Right.
hour
Right.
is immaterial in the grand scheme.
Absolutely.
Well, that may be true for certain
I mean,
jobs in certain areas, but I think we should.
Because, like,
it's
even like for my kid to come in and wash vehicles, all right, our prevailing wage assessment that they gave us was $13.72. So to bring my kid in,
and I'm just saying that
to go ahead and
1372
wash,
is a somewhat
you know,
arbitrary
to wash
figure.
trucks, to pay him $13.72, that doesn't set a good precedent for him at 16,
Right.
17 years old.
Okay, but I think that in terms of this flooding, look at the 66,000. They're here, they go back. They're here, they go back. It's not like 66,000 a year that accumulates. It's not a flood. It's a little drip. Okay, so first of all,
Yeah.
it's not flooding. It is just that is just not at all what this program is about. So I understand that the constituents have an attention span of, it's very short. But first of all, it's not flooding, and
It's not cheap either.
yeah,
These
it's
guys
not.
are not
well,
being paid
it's
less
not the
money
first
than what we
choice.
would pay an American worker.
Getting,
It's raising the American worker. Thank you very much. And it's also, it's elevating those supervisor positions and those career jobs in my company. And I think that stands true in every company. It's elevating those positions that Americans do want, which are the supervisors, the year-rounds, the career people.
the support staff. Getting back to your boss, another thing that I would ask him is, can the unions up there supply an adequate workforce for the demands?
Union halls are right.
Plain and simple, can they? I can call up my local, say, hey guys, I need 10, 12 men to lay sod for me tomorrow. We got a big job. And they'll laugh in my face. They'll say, what? We don't have any members that want to go out and do that. Well, it's a prevailing wage job. Okay, well, how much will you pay? Okay, it'll be $45 an hour. They still can't find them.
Right.
They cannot find them. So that would be the very first thing I would ask. Okay, unions, you're against us. Can you supply that workforce? We don't care about the labor costs. I want certainty with my crew. They will be there tomorrow morning. They will be there. They won't have drug problems. They won't have license problems. They're going to be honest.
Ron, let me add one thing to that. There's a new website DOL starts called seasonaljobs.dol.gov. Type in your zip code, shows all the different positions in your zip code, and you go on and apply. And Congressman can tell, like that's all the time, tell your constituents that if someone on there bypasses them or doesn't get an interview, tell me about it and we'll go after them.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
And with that, unfortunately,
Point to that site, point to that, tell them.
So, guys, it's been said that the program adds 4.6, or stabilizes 4.6 American jobs per employee that gets brought into the country, right? That's fact. Studied, surveyed fact.
Yeah.
In that studied, surveyed fact, you have to look at our industry as a whole. Our industry is over a $5 billion a year industry. We're the largest user of the program. We are also the largest purchaser of outdoor equipment
Right.
in the country, actually in the world, is our industry. Our suppliers, John Deere, Exmark, Kohler,
Caterpillar.
Greatwood, Cat, all
Bobcat.
build their equipment in Wisconsin. I did not buy $2.9 million worth of equipment this year because I didn't get my guys.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
That equipment's being bought from Wisconsin, from Michigan, from manufacturing states with industry. I was sitting in a meeting this morning with Exmark. We were talking to Coons' office. I didn't buy $564,000 of Exmark mowing equipment manufactured in the Great Lakes area this year because I have 78 mowers sitting in a warehouse
That you can't
without
use.
people to put on them.
That's
Wow, wow.
I did not take $8.9 million worth of maintenance work in Delaware this year
Yeah,
because I was unsure if I was going to have bodies to put on the mowers.
correct.
That's another $2.6 million worth of industrial landscape equipment produced in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
produced by Caterpillar, produced by John Deere. So the answer to the unions is without the person on the shovel or the body to put on the seat,
Yeah.
they don't have equipment to be produced.
Those are union jobs, Mom.
They are all union jobs.
Correct.
So I think we can continue this discussion, but we unfortunately have to close. So please join me in thanking Representative Andy Harris, our panel, and the Seasonal Employment Alliance. Let's keep the discussion up, and again, thank you all for coming today.
Don't say you don't care about the wage.
Truth,
I'm an economist. Of course you care.